p.m. Roxanne, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
Here.
Vice President Kaplan,
Here.
President Ruttenberg.
Here, please.
We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is public comments for items on the agenda. Executive Director Romes, has anyone from the public submitted any emails to be read aloud for public comment?
I did receive one email for public comment. It was from Sangeet Singh Gasson, and his comment was that it would be good to make sure there is an online or mail-in method for people to order and be mailed their lakefront parking sticker rather than to have to go in person to the recreation center. In light of COVID-19, it would be safer to have this option. Even pre-pandemic, stickers could be ordered online or via mail-in forms from the City of Highland Park. Perhaps this is already the plan for the Park District, but it wasn't clear to me from the new spring brochure.
Okay,
So
is that it?
that is it.
Okay, so the public comment is accepted. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the Finance Committee meeting minutes from February 4th, 2021. I had an opportunity to review them. They appear to be correct. If anybody else has any comments regarding the minutes, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by President Rundberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Kaplan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the financial forecast. Director Peters to present.
Okay, good afternoon. On your screen, we have our new and improved, what used to be called our financial forecast due to COVID-19. We are going to call it our 2021 financial forecast and treasurer's report. So we are trying to consolidate the two reports together into one. So we have a few new items today in this report that we hope to continue through the year. All right. So first up is our operations, our funds, our projected cash flows from operations. And we've definitely seen this all last year, but it's been updated for this year. Keep in mind that our board policy is a 25% fund balance reserve. So for 2021, that's about $4.1 million that we are required to keep on hand for board policy. Based on our budget for 2021, which again is on a phase 4 operating mode, we plan to have about $12.2 million on hand versus the budget versus the $4 million. And right now, based on the way things are going, we are projected to come in at about $11.8 million, which is still well above our reserve policy. We go to our next slide. This is one that we are accustomed to seeing. Last year, it's our operations, and that's our budget versus actual for our general and recreation funds combined. And so with our budgeted revenues and expenditures, we are projecting or budgeting to have a surplus at year end of $2.2 million. We can see that we have dropped in the figures for January. They're a little bunched up at the beginning of the year. What you can clearly see is the red dash line, which is our actual expenses, which are also in the red box, versus what we had budgeted our expenses to be, or we can see those down below as well. So our actual expenses versus budget for January in operations came in at over $200,000 less than what were originally budgeted. And then that correlates with our budgeted revenue versus actual revenue, which came in at about $100,000 less. Of course, we know that this is due to having budgeted being in phase 4 for all of 2021. However, the first part of January, we were in tier 2 and tier 3, which significantly reduced the amount of programs and offerings that we could carry out here at the Park District. The good news is, however, we did, with our adjusted programming, come in with operating surplus at $121,000 more than we'd actually budgeted for January. So while we couldn't do everything we wanted to do, we cut our expenses even more, and payroll was significantly reduced too, which all rolls up into this number.
Marilyn, can I stop you there real quick?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Is there any way, I don't know if anybody else is seeing this, but I'm seeing two graphs on my screen and it's kind of small. Is there any way to enlarge it so it's easier to read?
Oh, you know
Yeah,
what? Maybe I'm not sharing the right screen. Hold on.
yeah, you're sharing the screen that, yeah.
I'm sorry.
She's just distracted by all the boxes in her.
There you go. That's much better.
Yeah, the Easter egg. I'm sorry. Thank you for catching that though before we go any further.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see that better now.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, oh sure. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on to, we have moved on to the general fund. And so when we look at the general fund, this is a new chart. This ties into our treasurer's report that we go over at the board meeting each month. When we look at the general fund, it is a standalone fund, we budgeted a surplus for the year of about $146,000. So again, going back and looking at January, same thing, of course, happening here since this makes up the operating fund chart on the previous page. Our revenues budget versus actual came in pretty close, but our expenses did come in significantly less than where they had been budgeted at. And you can again see that pretty readily here, the red dash line versus the solid red line. Again, that's due to a lot of reduced payroll in January because we had less staff on hand, we had unfilled positions, and we were just doing less when we were in tier 2 and tier 3. However, again, when we look at the net difference of actual versus budget, we actually came in at about $79,000 more surplus at January 31st than what we had originally budgeted for.
Anybody have any questions or comments regarding this for right now?
Nope.
Okay, move on.
All right. Next, we're going to look at the special recreation fund, which this is also new. It's based off the treasurer's report. Keep in mind that we have very much targeted this account back when we levied our taxes. There was a lot of money in the fund balance in special rec at the end of 2020. So we have budgeted to spend a lot more out of this fund to get it reduced. And of course, we cut our revenue in half for it. So we do have a budgeted deficit of about $250,000 in this fund. As far as January activity, there was really nothing except for we did cut one check. And this was to NSSRA to pay our portion for the rehabbing of the building that had been purchased. This check was cut in January. It was budgeted for February, and in fact, we didn't give them the check until February, but this is just basically a timing difference, and then we will be back on schedule with this chart. It's just a timing difference.
Can I ask a question at this point?
Yes.
If we were to ignore this $346,000 disbursement,
Mm-hmm.
would for the beginning period, the two lines, the green and the red, then be pretty much the same line?
Yes, there would have been no activity in the month of January, pretty much in special recreation.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else on the slide?
Vice President Kaplan, anything?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, next slide.
And the next
Oh,
slide.
same slide. The next slide is.
Slide. Yep, recreation fund. So this was similar to what we had last year, but it's also part of the treasurer's report. So with our budget for 2021, we are budgeting a surplus in the recreation fund of a little over $2 million. If we go back down here and look at how January came in, we can see the red dashed line where expenses did come in under what was budgeted, the solid red line, and revenues, the dashed green line, came in just under the budgeted revenue. So in fact, our revenues are about $120,000 less than what we're budgeted. Our expenses are about $160,000 less than what were originally budgeted. Again, that's due to us being in tier 2 and tier 3 for the beginning of January. And so we had over $75,000 of program revenue programming that did not happen. And of course, then related expenses, again, payroll, not only from reduced programming, but also from unfilled positions also is coming into account here. However, again, we can see in the recreation fund, the surplus at the end of January actually came in at $42,000 higher than what we had originally budgeted for.
Questions, comments?
All good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so here in our debt service fund chart, this is a new chart that ties the treasurer's report. Nothing real exciting here. We pretty much strive to have a zero or close to zero balance at the end of the year in this fund. It's solely used for paying off our debt. You can see there's really no activity in January. We don't really anticipate any revenues until May when property taxes start coming in. If Lake County defers the deadline again for property taxes, and this is how we budgeted, that most of the taxes would come in later in the later months after May. And then of course, our first payment out of the fund isn't until June when we make our first of 2 interest payments.
Questions, comments? Okay,
Nope.
thanks.
Okay, then we have the capital fund. This is a new chart too for this year. We very purposely have a net budgeted deficit in the capital fund. If you recall, we have about $5.7 million of projects listed in the budget that range from tier 1 through tier 5 that we anticipate completing over the year. We show revenue on the bottom, which is mostly the $400,000 OSLAD grant. We can see in January that we have about a $20,000 difference in what we spent on capital. And there's basically for the Sunset Woods Playground and the master plan project that was worked on in January, but we have not yet received the invoice, or it hasn't gone through, but that should come in February. So it's really a timing issue. And then as far as the revenue that didn't come through, that is the first half of the OSLAD grant, mostly $200,000. And that goes into deferred revenue, and then it will get spent down as we incur project costs against that grant over the course of the year. So again, that's more of a timing difference. And that's it for capital. Does anyone have any question on this one?
No, ma'am. Thank
Can you
you.
back up for a second?
Sure.
Just quickly. With regard to this, I don't see you showing any transfers. Does that come later?
You know what? We do not put transfers in here. Those don't hit until December. So historically last year, we were not showing transfers in any of these charts. We can add them in if you prefer to see them that way.
I mean, I'd like to see another line showing just when the transfer occurs.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions, comments?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Our next chart we are familiar with. It's the monthly payroll chart. If you recall last year, the green line, again, our budgeted payroll expense was about $10 million for 2020. We put together a budget, which we'll have the hearing on next Tuesday. And in that budget, we said that we had cut payroll expenses by more than 10%. So that is very visible here. 10% of the 10 million would have gotten us down to 9 million, and we are at less than 9 million of budgeted payroll expense. And so if we go down and look at January, we can see we had budgeted 470,000 and we came in at 402,000, the yellow amount. And so with that, we are under budget so far for the year in our payroll expense at about $68,000. Again, we had reduced programming in January, and we also have unfilled positions that are driving this payroll difference. Do you have any questions on this chart?
Actually, I do have a request.
Okay.
Maybe we're missing a line on this, because if I came out of nowhere and looked at it, I'd say, "Oh my God, you got an $8 million monthly payroll in December," because these are all cumulative.
Right. Yes.
And so what I guess I'm looking for is the line that says 402 in January, then a dot that says 402, and et cetera. You know, so it's almost a flat, then it peaks during the summer kind of line.
Okay. So
Yeah.
in addition, so basically you want us to plot these monthly totals.
Yeah, because this is again, this is a monthly payroll, but it's actually showing an annualized payroll.
Okay. Okay, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, because I think that would help us understand, you know, our outgo on a month-by-month basis.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Anything else on payroll?
No, I don't have anything, Brian. No, next slide.
Okay, so with that, in conclusion of our presentation, in January of 2021, Lake County was in tier mitigations of the Restore Illinois plan. This resulted in reduced programming, which led to reduced revenue compared to the budget. However, with even greater reduced expenses, especially as we can see here in payroll, the net operating income was $192,000, which is greater than the budget by $121,000. Payroll expense also benefited from reduced operations and unfilled positions by the $68,000. So as a result, the Park District is starting the year ahead of budget and programs are trending in a positive direction while staff is managing district costs. So do we have any more questions on our presentation?
President Rudberg,
No, sir.
Vice President Kaplan? He has none. I just have a comment. With regard to these charts, I mean, I get it, it appears like everything looks good. What I would like to see is if you omit 2020, the year of COVID, is there any way that we can insert either a 3-year, 5-year historical average so we know how this compares to what we've done in the past, but prior to COVID?
We can certainly try to do that. The only thing I would say is, I mean, I guess you're thinking actual, because our budget for 2021 is phase 4. It's not phase 5. So if we took the average of 3 years, those would be fully functioning. Those would be phase 5 years in essence.
Yeah, I mean, we can do anything.
What I want to do is like, I get, we've been really focusing on how COVID's impacted everything, and we've been very proactive about that. I mean, I guess my point is that now as we're coming out of COVID, hopefully, and we're going into, phase 5 or whatever it is. I mean, I'd like to somehow be able to track how we're doing compared to our, not just what we did in 2020, but how we've done historically, and see how the district's recovering. I don't know, maybe that's not asking, that's the question I'm asking. I don't know how you show it, but I think that it'd be good, it'd be beneficial for us to be able to track to see how we're doing against our historical norms also.
Yeah.
So, Cal, I think what you're asking for, correct me if I'm wrong, is a comparison of, let's just say, revenue and expenses for the month of August of 2019, which was a full operation year, but it's a snapshot in time.
Yes, I just want to see how we're doing, because as we recover, as the district recovers, both in revenue and we're going to have to actually, spending more money on expenses, especially payroll. I mean, I just want to see how we're doing versus historical norms, because this is obviously a situation, extraordinary situation that no one's ever dealt with, that we basically shut down the district for a year. And I'd like to track also how the district recovers. You follow me?
I do. Yeah, I think, Mary Lynn, we could talk, and I think I believe you're just asking for another line that basically shows whether it be a 3-year average of 2017, 18, 19. There's no reason to show 2020 because,
yes,
and right now it's being compared to budget, not 2020. So we would just add a 3-year average and it would show, this is how we're doing compared to normal times or prior years.
Yeah, because I saw that email about people signing up and things like that, and obviously it's very encouraging. So I think I would, as one commissioner, like to see how we recover. And again, I'm not a finance guy. Maybe I'm being too general in how I'm trying to describe, but that's something I think would be useful for us to also see.
Understood. Yep.
I think we can come up with something.
Okay, something. Again, thank you very much. Anybody else have any? Barney, any other comments?
No, I understand what you're asking for, and it makes sense. Obviously, the footnotes to explain the comparison of one year to the other, because, for example, if we've raised fees, it's going to skew the number one way versus another. So there's more thinking to it that that our folks are going to have to do.
So, I mean, Marilyn, you're anticipating moving forward, you know, how do you, if you had a crystal ball in front of you, and, you know, how would you, let's say a year from now, I mean, would we be back, you know, fully recovered, you know, meeting the numbers we historically have had, the norms, or we be exceeding them? Are we going to be lower? I mean, I know it's impossible for you to answer that question, but I'm still going to ask it.
Well, and as part of answering that question, you have to get into the mind of the 50% of our population that's over 60 years old, and that is going to say, I don't know if I want to engage in programs or not for another 6 months.
Right.
That's why it gets very complicated, Cal.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. It's an impossible question. I get it.
Well, we can tell you though that how we did our 5-year funding model was that we knew we wouldn't be this year where we typically are with our year-end transfer from the rec fund. And then I think we said next year would be still not quite, but better. And then I think we figured by 2023, we would be back on track. So that was a conservative model.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the unknown.
I'd like to track that. I'd like to see if we could track that and see if we're, you know, how we're doing, so to speak.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Brian, anything? Kaplan?
No, I'm on my phone. I can't read any of this anyway.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Well, you look good. Okay. Is that anything else on the financial forecast? All right. Hearing that, so I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is Sunset Woods Park Playground final design concept proposal. Manager Schwartz to present.
All right, can you guys hear me? It looks like, oh, now I can share my screen, hang on.
Look, there's a winter scene behind her. That must be a painting.
All right, can you guys hear, or can you see my screen and hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. Can't do that. All right, so we are excited to come to you with the final design proposal. On the 9th, we came to you with the final concept plan. So this project has been moving kind of on a parallel track with the master plan, but this is where we're diverging. So the playground renovation project is moving on its own path, and we're going into final design. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. Oops, sorry. So just as a reminder, I want to just show what the final concept plan is. And I think it's easy to see some of the changes by starting off with the existing conditions. So we're focusing on the 2 playgrounds on the west side, on the west side, the 21st Century Playland, the Rocket Ship, and the Titanic Tides tot lot. That's the pirate ship themed playground. And so here is the concept plan that is being proposed. It's very conceptual at this point, but I wanted to emphasize some of the site improvements that will be taking place. So you can see that from here, we have no connections between the 2 playgrounds, or no direct connections, I should say. But here in the phase 2, we're improving connectivity to the parking lot and to the other play spaces in the park. So this is what we are seeking, or this is what the proposal is looking to accomplish, is design, development, and construction documents to implement this concept plan. We are also, we asked Hitchcock Design Group to provide a cost to do the final design and construction documents for the plaza, which was proposed in the master plan. And I will go through the cost, but we are recommending to move forward with this portion as well, because it is coming in under the expected budget for design, for final design. So I can come back to these as we move through, but I just wanted to start reminding you what the concept plan that we're focusing on today. And again, just a reminder, the 5 to 12 is the rocket ship. So these are some of the representative images. And then the 2 to 5 is the nature inspired. These are some of the representative images. So there's a 5-phase approach here for final design that will start in March and go through fall 2021 through the end of construction. So the first phase is design development. That's where we're going to take these concept plans and work with Hitchcock Design Group to really refine the playground design details. So that's where we're going to really identify the wow features of this playground, and then move into the design development plans, which are they essentially look like construction documents, but they're not as detailed necessarily. But they don't have the pretty pictures, but we're getting more towards the how is it going to be constructed. Phase 2, they'll take those approved design development plans and take them through the construction documentation. So that's finalizing graphic documentation with all the details, as well as the written documentations or the specifications that will be used through the bidding process. Phase 3 is permitting. So Hitchcock Design Group, following this proposal, will prepare and submit permit documents, as well as go through the steps with the city and other permitting agencies and require all the permitting for this project. Phase 4 is bid award. At this point, the Park District is going to manage the bidding phase. Hitchcock Design Group will participate by recommending contractors. They'll attend any pre-bid meetings, and they'll answer questions and issue addenda as necessary. And then the last phase is the construction services phase. So Hitchcock Design Group will assist as needed on an hourly basis, and it's an estimated fee for construction administration, answering any questions throughout the construction process. They'll review closeout documents, and then they'll also do occasional construction observation. But we will have Park District staff assigned to the project that will be out on site regularly managing construction.
Amalia?
Yes.
At this point, let me ask a question about construction services, because in the proposal, it says hourly estimate $26,000 for construction services.
Yeah, so it's based on, I believe they have they're coming to the site every other week to do construction observation. They're assuming any need for change orders, any need for requests for information from the contractor. So if they need to respond to anything the contractor is asking throughout construction, their presence at the pre-construction meeting. But again, that's an estimate. So it's at the higher end and could be much lower, and all of it is as necessary.
All right, so if we and I'm not going to belabor this, but if we ask them to spend 5 hours or 10 hours total, because we have, our staff, you and Jeff, and I'm sure others, so we only aim for 10 hours, that 26,000 would drop dramatically to, let's assume it's.
Especially if we don't have any change orders. I mean, if their presence on the site is not as needed as we had anticipated, then yes. Yeah, okay. It'll be reduced quite a bit.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions about our process?
Vice President Kaplan?
No.
I don't have any questions either.
All right, I'm going to keep going then. So this is the budget that was presented on the 9th. This is the cost opinion that Hitchcock Design Group has provided us based on the preliminary concept plan for the playground. So using this construction dollar amount, we're staying within the estimated 8 to 10%. Here they're estimating 130,000, but
Sorry. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is that design and engineering include the general contractor fees of 26,000, the estimate? Or is that on top?
It does. And so I just want to clarify one thing. So I'm going to move, this is a cost opinion, very general, that they together for the presentation on the 9th. In the next slide, I'll show you the more specific, but what I wanted to emphasize here is that they're using this construction, or I'm sorry, these dollar amounts to, I want to emphasize that they're staying within what they had proposed, which was an 8 to 10% of construction costs. And so that is with what they're proposing in the proposal that you've seen. It's in line with what they had, their cost opinion that they presented.
Oh, no, I understand that. I was just asking if that 26,000
Yeah,
was
it
part
did.
of.
It included construction fees.
And now I see it on this chart.
Yeah. So final design services are coming in at 82,100. Construction services are an estimate. And then we're recommending these additional services, and I'll explain them. The reimbursable expenses, that's pretty standard. That's for printing and any mileage. So that's a max dollar amount, and will be billed as needed for that. The 3D graphics and rendering is an additional service that we may or may not want to take advantage of, depending on the process. But this allows us to develop images of the playground to be constructed that could be useful in communications with the community, to really show what it is that we're going to build.
Well, let me ask you about that.
Sure.
You said to the community, for our internal purposes, for you guys to run the project and not worry about PR, do you need the 3D graphics at $5,600?
Oh, I wouldn't say we would need that. I think that this would be more of a communication tool. And so that's why we're keeping it as additional services. If we don't choose to proceed with this, then it'll reduce our dollar amount to Hitchcock by 5,600.
Yeah.
We can also go forward with renderings and not with 3D graphics. So again, this will really be based on what we feel is necessary as the project advances.
All right. Obviously, I'm after going through our budget, the numbers, trying to make sure save money wherever we can, and I know you guys are doing that too.
Yeah, and so I'll say that well, I'll keep going. So the structural engineering is similar. It's I would say it's like a max price or a max estimated cost that is anticipated. The need for structural engineering will be dependent on any custom pieces that may come out of that initial phase of design development. So if we move forward with a custom play piece that is designed more by Hitchcock than a playground manufacturer, they will need to sub out to a structural engineer for that. If we go with a more semi-custom piece or a standard play piece, the structural engineering is covered through the manufacturer.
Okay,
We do expect some structural engineering costs because because of the flagstone walls that are there currently that might need to be repaired as we move forward with site work. But like I said, this is a higher end cost if we were to proceed with any custom piece that would require an outside structural engineer that wasn't provided by the playground manufacturer.
Based upon your knowledge of the equipment that's available in the industry, do you see much of a need for custom manufactured play equipment?
For this playground, I think that we're going to want some custom pieces. We talk about Sunset Woods as a destination park. So making it unique, making this playground, I believe that the rocket ship that's there now was a semi-custom piece. So it's going to depend on our conversations with the manufacturers. However, if our intent is to try to keep, I think we're going into this trying to keep costs, be efficient about this. So part of that design development with our initial meetings with Hitchcock are going to be doing sketches and really looking through and talking with manufacturers to understand what they can do. And so we can work with them to make sure to see if we can work with within what they can provide. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Very much so. Thank you.
All right, and then the final design for the plaza is coming in at 7,200. And because these are all underneath, including the final design for the plaza is coming in below the 130,000, we recommend proceeding with final design for that portion as well. There's cohesion to that design, and there is benefit to including that at this time.
Amalia, what
Yeah.
constitutes final design? What services does that constitute?
Final design includes everything. It gets us to the point to bid it out. So to
So
go
we
out.
need it then.
Well, yes, we do. The final let me go here. So what I'm talking about is this plaza, which is considered our kind of phase 2. If we weren't going to spend that 7,200, this is what's included in the final design without the 7,200.
So if we put benches in there and some amenities, we could save $7,200 in a big design process.
Sure. What we're getting with the 7,200 is, and this footprint will likely change, just like the rest of the master plan. These footprints are examples of kind of like an experience or a play activity, but the idea that they're trying to get at here is improved kind of gathering. What we heard from community members is that they come and use all 4 of the play spaces, and there's not a really good kind of hub to sit down and kind of like a place for parents to see their kids moving around from the different play spaces. So the intent of this is to address that need.
Oh, I understand that. I just was curious what it entailed. Thank you.
Yeah, so it would be bringing this plaza up to construction documents so that we could bid it out to get an estimate on how much it would cost and if it would be cost effective to do them all at the same time. We could evaluate it at that time.
Thank you.
What are we envisioning for this gathering space with $7,200 just to design a place to put benches? I'm sorry, I'm being rather caustic about it because I just am kind of worried about where that's going to go with the expense.
I would say from a design a placemaking standpoint, they may seem trivial, but I think these gathering spaces really contribute to the experience. But I think that you're right. I mean, you can minimize this to, it is a place where it's going to be benches. The phase 1 is accomplishing the major challenge, which is connectivity. So if we don't do this, we are still addressing connectivity. We can still put benches. What we're addressing here is making this a destination. People can come to use all 4 of our play spaces. They can spend the day here. They can put their bags down and move from one play area to another. The parents can hang out. I mean, it's really about you're making an experience with this space is what you're doing.
Do we have any cost estimate of what it would take to make it a nice space to sit on a bench and watch your kids in the 2 parks?
Do you mean to construct it?
Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about? I mean,
Sure.
So,
I'm just trying to get, guys, I'm just trying to get an idea because designers can give you the Taj Mahal. And when we're really looking for a place to sit on a bench, eat your cheeseburger while your kids are playing, and feed the squirrels. So I just don't want us to get nutsy about this plaza, these gathering area, when in truth and in fact, it's probably not going to be used that much for what everyone talks about. I'm just, trying to
But
minimize it.
isn't
Absolutely.
there $7,200 being spent to, as I understand it, to design?
It's just to design it, right?
To design it. So I don't know if we can get, Barney, I don't know if you can get a number today. This is just to do a design.
Well, this is
Well,
the
they-
estimate
they-
on the screen. Yeah, it's
Can you see it?
$182,000.
Yeah, 182.
Okay, now you see what I'm
Okay.
talking about.
Right. But
I'll spend,
now it's apples to apples.
yeah, spend 82, spend 52. I mean, if we're, it's a park, which we want to make really nice. I understand that. It's also a place where, parents might leave the buggy while the kids are playing or something like that. Nice, but not over nice. And I see $182,000 as, in my opinion, maybe over nice.
Yeah, and we could, I mean, so it doesn't, the 182,000 is a very broad general cost opinion at this point, because we're still conceptual. I think the question here is whether we want to address this concern at this time. We don't need to do this. If we were to proceed without this, we would still get improved connectivity. And if we were to feel that there was an increased need for this in the future, we can always go back and do this effort at another time. It may not be in that location. Perhaps, can you still see my screen?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, perhaps it's in this location, so it's not, we don't need to rip this out. Maybe we put it here, and perhaps that's the better location, because that's where all 4 playgrounds are. So
Hold on, wait, bear with me,
So-
because I'm really stupid. What 4 playgrounds?
okay, so there are 4 play spaces at Sunset Woods. There's the rocket ship, the pirate ship one. Here's the treehouse playground, which we renovated in 2014, I think. And then up here is the archaeological dig play space. So there are
And then-
4 separate play areas here.
And this space we're talking about will connect all 4.
No, it won't.
Well, so
Can I finish my question, please?
I'm
sure.
sorry.
As I understand it, it's a connector and it's a place for parents who have kids with multiple age children using multiple playgrounds where they can maybe stand and watch all of them at one time.
Yeah. It's a gathering, it's a gathering place.
I think if, Barney, if staff's recommendation is to plan it now, maybe we give it a budget of a third or a half, or something we feel comfortable with.
Oh, yeah, Brian, I'm not disagreeing with the idea of,
Okay,
I'd spend the $7,200 to plan, but I don't want anybody looking at $185,000 for a gathering plaza. And notice on this drawing, the gathering plaza does not have a gathering space for the other 2 play areas. That's why I asked what other 2 play areas.
Sure.
And you were very right, Amalia, to say maybe we move it further to the east. At some point.
okay, I understand.
Right.
So
And
the
I
only comment-
just want to clarify that I may have spoken. I mean, part of the reason why it was put here is also the location of trees. And so I guess what I was trying to get at is to say that this footprint and this location and this size may all change through that final design phase, but the intent is to provide a surfaced gathering space that is accessible to the playgrounds, it is, to the play areas within Sunset Woods. That's the intent it is supposed to achieve.
Totally appreciate that. Totally agree. Think we should plan it just the way you did for $7,200.
Let's see what they come up with.
But what
Molly,
I'm hearing is that we want to consider we want to target a lower construction budget because that is good guidance for our design, so that we can then we can design so that it's not, that it's not going to come in at much higher than 180,000 or however high we want to go.
About half that price.
Okay.
So if I could just say a few things, what I think is really important is that because we, so far we have gone through this pre-concept, concept design phase with our board liaisons, Lori and Terry, and this was the recommendation that had come to the board. And so at this point, I think we definitely want to hear from every board member on what their thought is in regards to the 7,200 to design it, as well as, potentially, if there is a budget on that design feature, for example, 150,000, that would be something that we'd want consensus from all the board members up front to help with the design. So I think, right now it's based on $180,000 and the design fee is 7,200. So the
Brian?
question for the three board members for the finance committee is, we're recommending we move ahead with that. What are the feelings from the three board members in regards to that?
well, Brian,
All right.
hold on a second, before we get to
Sorry,
that
Cal.
question. So what are you looking for from us on the finance committee? Are you looking for a recommendation with regard to the final design concept proposal or the plan?
The proposal, so the 7,200.
So it's
And
really,
the
what you're looking from us today is a recommendation to the park board with regard to the design proposal that's in front of us right now.
Correct.
But we're not married to the actual design. This is just the proposal for the design.
For final design, we are pretty married to the concept design because that's already gone before the board.
But the concept design does not include the plaza, or does it?
It includes a plaza.
The
Concept plan, the master plan includes the plaza. There's one iteration, which is that with staying within our $1 million budget for playground renovation that does not include the plaza.
Okay.
The plaza is extra, is coming from the master plan. And Hitchcock did stress, and this really goes for the master plan, that the footprints of these are representative. So that's why if when we're talking about approving the design, like if you don't like this spiral shape, or I think of it as a spiral shape or like a ray, it may not look like this. So that's what final design, we'd have to do through final design.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to figure out exactly what we're trying to accomplish. So what I understand, if you go back to the previous slide, which
This one?
this one. So this is the final concept plan, and that is derived in the budget, and that's evidenced by the final design concept proposal. What you're asking us is, number one, to approve this, which I think there's a consensus that there'll be a recommendation to the park board to approve the design proposal for what I'm looking at right now. And then what you're also asking is that part of the master plan, it was identified that there possibly may be a plaza of some unknown design, but we have like a concept right now, but of some unknown design that may be included. And should we have Hitchcock design that plaza now while we're doing the other things for $7,200 on the IFCOM that we decide we want to fund it and do it?
That's right. And the other, I was just going to add that the other benefit that I didn't get to mention is that by having the final design drawings, that also helps us if we were to want to seek outside funding from a grant or from other funders. So it just helps us, kind of positions us well to move forward.
So you're asking us to invest an additional $7,200 in this design concept proposal to try to come up with a plan for a plaza that we can then shop for additional funding, either for, say, for example, from the foundation or for some type of grants, or if we decide to include this in a future capital plan.
Yeah, or if things come in low
Yes,
for
there.
our bids and it's within budget, we could do it.
Okay, so if with understanding that, I mean, I have obviously no problem with what the recommendation from the working group with regard to this final concept first phase. I think it's well thought out. With regard to the plaza, I would have, several questions with regard. I think Barney, kind of articulated some of them, but it looks like to me that looks like a lot of hardscape and maybe whether that's more impervious. We're introducing more impervious surfaces into the park. I mean, those are things that I would want to be vetted. So if you want to like come up with a concept plan that will be sensitive to the park, I think showing this and this circle really does us no favors because it really doesn't provide us enough information. But if you want to come up with, if you go back to the previous slide and you say, okay, show us the area where you may want to come up with some type of concept plan that'll be sensitive to the park, that is not going to be heavy-handed, that we can look for funding. That's something I may be able to get behind. But I think that what you're showing us with regarding this, that it seems like a lot of structure for me.
Well, I just want to, I may have misspoken. I mean, that this does consider the existing tree. I mean, this isn't just plopped down necessarily. I mean, they did, this is the concept plan for where they're recommending to put it. I guess what I was trying to say is that that through final design, the shape or the size could be reduced. I wanted to just emphasize that we still have to go through the design effort.
I understand. So what do you propose? What kind of material you're proposing?
That all has to be determined through final design.
Okay.
So I think that's why I wanted to, this is it. The intent of the master plan is to show activities and experiences and kind of locations.
Okay, I got it. Let's cut to the chase. I don't have a problem with this, but with the direction that I'm not looking to introduce more impervious surface into the park. I don't know what my fellow commissioners feel, but I don't want.
Cal, I totally agree, and I'm prepared to spend the $7,000 to plan a connecting plaza or connecting area. But again, this is addressing 2 of the play areas, and there's 4 play areas.
Yeah, but I think Barney, I think what we're hearing is that we're trying to accomplish this without tree loss.
I understand.
There's probably significant trees directly to the east, and this is where the location.
Right.
And if we're going to put any type of plaza, it might not be practical to put a plaza further to the east.
Right. It might not be necessary to put a plaza like this one, but the simpler one that shows the connectivity, which was the other slide, with a couple benches, and we're home free.
Yeah, I'm okay with all that. I'm just, again, we gave the designers basically what we're looking for with regard to those 2 players, and they've accomplished our goal. I mean, they've come up with, they're going to come up with 2 beautiful playgrounds. I'm more concerned about the plaza again. What the scope of the plan that we're suggesting to the designers, because they're only going to design something we tell them to design. So I'd like to hear more of what the concept of the plaza, whether you intend to have any covered structures in there, whether you're intending to have any more impervious surface, or what is the scope of our engagement for that $7,200? What are we going to tell them to design?
Well, that's what I thought Barney was getting at when the budget is $182,000. Are we asking them to design something in that budget or a smaller budget?
Well, I put the money aside for a second. What are we asking them to design?
Oh, I think we're asking, all that Amalia.
Let's Brian, let's Amalia answer the question. What are we asking them to design?
That's what I said, Cal.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, I would say if we're, based on what we heard from the community, it would be an area that addressed the need for gathering and connection to the play areas within the park. A hub of sorts is the word that I was hearing. I through this last effort and this last round of the last 2 rounds of community engagement, we heard a lot of what you guys are talking about, the concern of over developing this park and adding more hard surface. So I would add that to the scope, that we'd want to reduce the impact to the open space of this park. We'd want to preserve all the trees, so nothing that would impact any of the trees. So working with them to see how we can work within our budget to achieve those intents is what the direction I would give them. I don't know, Brian, if you have more to add.
Yeah, the only thing, if I may just kind of comment. So it is very common at large marquee, not tot lots, but community parks, for there to be a place for community gathering and a place to eat and things like that. Right now, people do that either in the pavilions that are, a little bit away from the playground, or there's picnic benches that are spread out throughout the park. And that's how they do that right now. So it's currently being done. And this is creating a new space. It's an option. We can choose, it's unnecessary and we don't like it. Or we can choose, that's really nice. That's a great idea. The community thought it was a good idea. Let's move forward. That's what we're looking for right now is,
Okay.
does the board,
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I mean, there is precedent in this park for doing something like that. If you look at, similar what the work that was done behind Sunset One's backstop, when that field was redone and with the dugouts and the landscaping that was put in and some like knee wall almost type of like seating areas. I think that there is precedent to do this, and I agree that this is a community park and something like that is what that is. I just want to make sure that we focus what we tell the design team. I'm not looking for a memorial that you see on the mall in Washington D.C. I mean, I'm looking for something that composes well with the natural area of the park, that is not introducing a lot of hard surfaces and impervious surface to an area that is obviously that is very natural. So I don't want to belabor the point anymore unless anybody else has something to add. I'm comfortable.
I do.
I'm comfortable spending the money.
Yeah, I do. I will add.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable spending $7,200. I'm not comfortable spending and telling them we're going to spend $182,000. I also am not comfortable by putting a place for people to come and have their lunch by the kids' playgrounds. This is a place where parents, grandparents, whatever, can come, maybe not be hovering over their kids as they're in 2 different parks or 3 parks or 4 parks. That's what this is. If you want a place for people to go and sit and have lunch, you don't put it where kids are playing. Don't invite the community to come and watch the kids play.
Okay. All right. Brian, do you have anything you like to add?
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm good.
Okay. So I think is it the consensus of the Plan Commission, of the Finance Committee to, number one, recommend to the Park Board that we enter into the Sunset Woods Park Playground final design concept proposal as set forth in the Hitchcock proposal that we all reviewed. In addition, that we're also recommending to the Park Board that an additional sum not to exceed $7,200 be spent to try to design some type of, I'm going to call it plaza, consistent with the design criteria that Amalia just enumerated.
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, I'm fine with that too. Does that help you, Amalia?
It does. Thank you.
Okay,
And she thought this was gonna be easy.
yeah. Okay, is there anything else on the Sunset Woods Park Playground final design concept proposal?
Not
Okay,
for me.
hearing none. Thank you, Amalia, for that presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, next is with regard to the Parks and Natural Areas Maintenance Agreement, Director Voss to present, and is he on? Before we allow him to present? Where is he? There he is.
Yeah,
I
he's
just
there.
want to compliment you and your entire staff for all the hard work over this last month and these 50 inches of snow. You guys have done an amazing job, and I've gotten compliments throughout the community about how the snow removal has been done. So I just want to acknowledge that.
But we do have one complaint.
Okay, well, there's always one complaint, but I from what I've seen, the staff has done an exceptional job.
Yes, they have.
Thank you. I don't know what the one complaint is.
Oh,
So I hope somebody shares that with me later. So
Okay.
we can improve on whatever that was, what was.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go forward with this proposal.
Okay, so what I want to show you is at the March board meeting, we will be bringing expect to be bringing 3 contracts for approval from the board. And just want to give you a quick update on what those 3 are. As soon as I can move here. Oh, I can't get my thing to change here. This is not working. Hold on a second. Try it this way. All right, I'm not sure why I can't get it to move in the slideshow.
we're seeing it. It has.
Okay, yeah, I now that I changed it to this way. So the first one is involving the preserve. So this is not actually part of the contract that we are currently under with Team Real to do the amenities and the path work. This began back in 2018 when as we were still doing the IGA agreements, we started the conversion of 50 acres to natural plantings. This would be the 3rd year of this agreement. We have a contractor, V3, that we have worked very well with. They've done a great job so far. And this is continuing weed monitoring. There's seeding areas that still haven't. Last year was really good. The first year was so much rain, we had areas that didn't take. So they go through and they help us keep establishing some areas that are still struggling with, helping keep the weeds down, all that part of the conversion. So this would be the 3rd year, the last year of this agreement. This is part of capital, and it is part of our obviously the whole preserve project. So we will be bringing a renewal contract for approval for $39,200 to the board in March. Any questions on that one before we move to the next one?
Barney?
How much longer after this will we need to have this contract?
So we will do a new contract. We have it in capital for 2 more years after this year. And that is just to continue with the plantings that are the seeds that currently went in back in November, December around the North Pond, and some more of the plantings and the seeding that will happen for this year. The next 2 years will be also to continue that. So we don't know what that will be. It would have to be a new contract, a new bid. So I don't have an estimate of what that may be. We have it in the budget for $100,000 for the next 2 years, but as you can see by this, it was a lot lower. So that's what we're certainly.
Oh, that's great. So there's no advantage. You're saying there's no advantage to doing the 3-year contract with one provider and see if we can get a better deal.
Well, this is the 3rd year, so by legally we have to do a new bid, which would be fine anyway because we're going to have to add new areas, the areas that are part of it. So we have to do it anyway.
I understand. Okay. Thanks. Got it.
The second one is what we call.
Brian, do you have any
Oh,
questions?
I'm sorry.
Brian, do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
No, I'm sorry. I was anxious to move on. The next one is landscape services, and this is more than just mowing. It's mowing, you can see right there in front of you. Mowing, string trimming, weeding, edging, cultivating. We put in alternates for mulching, for leaf removal at the end of the year, and this is at 12 Park District sites and also 8 alternate sites. I'm going to go to the next screen so you could take a quick look. I won't read through all of those. But the sites have more shrub areas, more tree rings, more planting areas. There are some of our more high profile areas in front of buildings. The Aqua Park is a huge one. It's usually one of the biggest individual cost line items for there. And this is a contract we did not use last year. We had a bid back in March and we went without. We attempted to do most of this work in-house. We did the mowing and the string trimming, and we got by a lot of this other work. The pruning of the shrubs, the edging, some of that kind of fell by the wayside as we continued our way through COVID last year. This here is, I hesitated to put in 2019, so I wanted to go back though and show what we have budgeted in the past. This is an operating budget line item. Back in 2019, you can see we spent budget about 78,000. The contractor at that time was poor. They did not do a lot of the work. I had to keep following after them and try to get them to do the work. And then of course we did not pay them when they didn't, which is why we only spent 34,600 in 2019. Going into last year, I budgeted much more. We also added some of the area. We added some more areas to help the staff. We have not had a lot of summer maintenance kids anymore that want to work in park maintenance, and we eliminated a 30 to 39 position. So we increased some of our sites, and which was the reason for the increasing of the budget for 2020. Had we gone through with the bid and the approval and the alternates, we could have potentially had $101,600 for last year. But this year I did budget again for the same amount. I'm not saying at all that that's what it may come to. This bid is going to be going out next week. I have no idea right now what it's going to be. We could, once we get it back and I can go through it, I'll know maybe some of the alternates we can't do or we don't want to do, if we don't want to spend as much. That will all be coming up in the next couple of weeks, and when we get those bids back in, and I can figure out how much we could possibly do. But I did want to share the 103,700 is what is currently budgeted in the operating budget for this landscape services contract.
Okay, any questions, comments, President Ruttenberg?
Oh, none for me.
Vice President Kaplan?
Nope, even I understand this.
Okay, the only comment I have is this is really actually directed to Liz. I just looked to see if she's participating in this. Every spring, people reach out to us and discuss the park district's was it state flower, the dandelion. If we can have something posted on the website, maybe come springtime, what to expect, and this is actually try to have a positive spin on the fact that people call and complain or call me or email me to complain how many dandelions there are out there.
Can we go
Certainly.
through? Can we have an expert from Boston come tell us how bad our parks were?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we can absolutely preempt that with a feature on the reasoning behind it, and hopefully you won't get as many calls.
Yeah. Okay.
We try to do a lot of double cutting during those bad 6 to 8 weeks to try to get some of those down, but we can't do them all. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then the third one is what we call turf maintenance. And this is for somebody like myself, we call it the mow and go, which is exactly what it sounds like. They're mowing, they do some string trimming, and then they move on. They're not doing any other work besides that. These, and I should have mentioned on the other one, these are for 26 weeks, which is standard, usually about mid-April to mid-October. This one is at 29 different sites, which includes school sites. We did engage in a contractor, Balance Environments, last year, about halfway through. Let me move on down. Oh, actually, I'm going to pause here for a second. So these are the sites that we do. Again, I won't read through all of them. But we do some of the school sites. Prairie, Slough, which is on 22 west of Ridge Road, is a site that we also have an agreement to maintain there. And then, as you can see on the left column, those are most those parks. If you are familiar with some of them, they don't have a lot of extra landscaping that needs extra work. Which is why it's on this contract and not a landscape services contract. This should be the last slide. So, no, I'm sorry, it's not the last slide. But last year we, for $2,600 for $2,641 was the weekly cost to do all these sites. Again, for the first, let's say about 11 weeks last year, we did all of this ourselves as well as the other contract, and that was able to be done because we didn't have soccer, we didn't have baseball, we didn't open the aqua park, the lakefronts was all delayed, we never turned on water fountains, we never opened most of bathrooms such as the ones at Lincoln or Moraine or Mooney. So we were able to use staff to do that. And then once we got to phase, I apologize, I think it was phase 4 towards the end of June, when we were able to open up more and baseball started. This is when I came to the board and asked to then engage in this contract. I'll go to the last slide here now. So you can see in 2020, we spent about half of this contract. Last year, this would be a renewal. This would be the second year. And they are interested very much in continuing, and we plan would like to renew this as well, because obviously this year we're expecting to have to do all those other things. The baseball and soccer, we expect to keep going, so it'll be much more difficult for staff to be able to start the year doing this. I think I got it. Any questions? Any more questions?
President Ruttenberg?
Yeah, remind me, where is Prairie, Slough?
So if you head west on 22 and you pass Ridge Road, there is a forest preserve on the south side of the road before you get to the little shopping area where the Heinens and the McDonald's and the whatever else is in there.
Yeah.
Before you get to Waukegan. So there was an agreement that was made about 15 years ago or so, probably 20 years ago at this point. I was here, I remember it, between the city and the park district and the forest preserve. And in that agreement, it calls for the park district to mow the parking area. And then if you walk the path, it actually goes all the way down to the backside of Deerfield High School. It's just one length of mowing on either side, and it goes all the way down. So we are in agreement to keep doing that.
Whose property is that?
What town is it in?
Lake County Forest Preserve.
Okay, is that part of Highland Park, or is that Deerfield or Bannockburn?
I always thought it was Deerfield and Bannockburn.
I think it is.
Then why are we involved with it?
I looked at this agreement, and I could check again. It was probably about a year or two ago I last looked at it, and I thought, how can we get out of this? Because it just didn't make sense to me. But and I'll look again. I can't remember the details, but I remember thinking when I did look at it, like, okay, I guess we have to. So I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, like we don't get any credit for doing anything. Nobody knows.
Well, our signs there.
No, we don't have the park. The Forest Preserve has a sign there. There's a little parking lot right there.
Yeah, I remember. I know. I've seen it, and it's a nice little marshy area, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very well used. I have to like come in and pass it and go home past it twice a day. There's always cars there. There's people walk it. There's people that run on it. It's a very nice area, which is again not the question though. But yeah,
I don't even think it's in Highland Park.
yeah.
I don't think so either.
Okay, any other
Look into
questions?
that, and like I said, I'll look into it again and remind myself what I found the last time I
Yeah,
looked at it.
let's
Good
figure that
comment.
out.
Any other questions or comments?
No, it all sounds good to me,
Okay,
except for that. Is that one?
move on to the next agenda item. Thanks, Dan.
Mhm.
The next is the Golf Learning Center parking lot and sidewalk proposals. Director Smith to present.
All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna try sharing my screen here. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, great. So just going to give a little bit of an overview of the Golf Learning Center parking lot improvement project. So what we're moving forward with this project right now is bringing on an engineering firm to bring us to construction documents so we can bid this work out, with the plan being to do construction in fall. So you can see here in this aerial, here is the Golf Learning Center area. I know everyone is familiar with this project, so I will try to go pretty quickly, but I want to start by just orienting. Here's Highway 40, Route 41. Here's the infamous entrance and exit. That's a bit of a challenge. That kind of falls in the IDOT right away. Lower parking lot, the driving range, and then there's the dome up there. So the scope of this project, you see the area of the asphalt that's highlighted in yellow. This is the areas that would be resurfaced. And that's the primary purpose of this project, is a resurfacing of the existing lot. And then if you notice this area to the upper left, highlighted in blue, this is a path that runs up to Skokie River Woods. So for this path, it will be redone, but it's part of the Preserve and Skokie River Woods project. It should be done a little earlier in the year, and we'll coordinate so that there isn't any interference or any damage from one project or the other. But the reason I mention this is part of the Skokie River Woods project is also going to be the addition of a sidewalk right here. So as it stands right now, there is an existing sidewalk where this orange line is right here, but there's no sidewalk north of that. And the purpose of adding this blue sidewalk is so that there is pedestrian access if someone were to, let's say, park in the lower parking lot and then wanted to walk up to the entrance to Skokie River Woods. So as part of this project, we would like to continue that sidewalk work, and right along here in red, there's also no sidewalk. Right now, this sidewalk just dead ends. And if someone would like to go from here over to this path that connects to the preserve, they have to walk along the asphalt path behind the driving range, which I've seen can be kind of challenging when it's pretty busy up there, especially if someone's, let's say, riding their bike through. So what we like to do is extend this sidewalk along the parking lot here. And what that will do is provide a complete connection, almost like a circular path from the preserve all the way through to Skokie River Woods. And then obviously it connects through in the property and comes back around. So as I mentioned, we're looking to enter into an engineering proposal. We reached out to 2 engineering firms, and in the end, we are recommending Dan Craney Company. This is a firm that we've worked with on many projects, and I'm happy to say that their proposal came in below our budgeted amount, and they were almost half as much as the proposal from the other firm. So, and also, as I mentioned, we'll be looking to get construction documents for the parking lot and also for the addition of that one section of sidewalk. In addition to that, this project is going to include having the engineer review the configuration of their upper parking lot so that they can provide us with some options for improved circulation, as we had discussed at a previous meeting. We're also going to have them look closer at that entrance and exit and see if there's any improvements that can be done working with IDOT along Route 41 for improved ingress and egress. One of the large roles of this engineer will be to lead that IDOT
permitting process with hopefully doing some improvements there, but at a minimum, simply replacing that area in order to redo the asphalt there, even if it's the resurfacing, we still have to get approval on permitting through IDOT. And then also another challenge that we're aware of in the lot is there's areas where it does retain water. So in doing these drawings for the lot, we'll be looking at regrading and addressing stormwater, and obviously as well ADA compliance. But here the point is that we will be looking at stormwater and trying to repair areas where it stands right now. And then lastly, along the lines of stormwater, we're certainly going to consider any green opportunities, whether it be through dealing with stormwater, and also we had mentioned in a previous meeting looking at the possible material for that sidewalk. And so we'll determine whether it is an option to do something other than your traditional concrete or asphalt path there. So for the proposal from Dan Craney Company, I'm just going to quickly walk through. It's broken down. They'll start with a topo survey of the site, and then they'll be doing some site planning, looking at the upper lot and the entrance and exit to see what options we might have. Then we'll do some geotechnical testing. That's going to be pavement course of the parking lot, determining how much asphalt is there and how the best to replace it, which will lead to this pavement report on recommendations. From there, they're going to be doing this improvement plan, which is essentially the construction document. They'll also be leading the permitting applications, working with the city on their permitting. And then for bidding and construction, this is primarily going to be led by Park District staff. However, there will be some assistance from Dan Craney Company at some time. So that brings us to a total proposal cost of $21,400. Now, as far as the overall budget goes, we have the Dan Craney proposal at, oh, I apologize, there's a typo right there. Those two numbers don't match, but $21,000. And the estimated construction cost for this project is $275,000, which brings us to $296,000. And we currently have $320,000 in the 2021 capital budget for this project. And I also want to mention that this project, being that it's on lot 3, it is a project that the city of Highland Park will cover a portion of the cost for. So the city will be reimbursing the Park District for 50% of the final cost for this project. However, as you may recall, we recently had an amendment done to the Lot 3 agreement where the city was going to reimburse the Park District this money in the form of the amount that the district contributes to the rec center parking lot and monument sign replacements in 2024. It'll be subtracted from that amount that we owe. And real quickly, the timeline on the project. We're looking to start the engineering and construction documents now, and then we'll move through about June. From there, we'll move to bid, and then we'll be coming to the board most likely in August for a recommendation on the bid and seeking board approval, which will bring us to September and October for construction. And that's all I have. Do I have any questions?
Any questions or comments? I thought the what Dan Craney is charging is very fair, and so I appreciate that. So, but I'll turn it over to my fellow commissioners. President Ruttenberg.
Could we go back to the rendering you'd had that shows the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any reason to extend the sidewalk further so that it provides access to the direct access to the dome as opposed to dropping off where it stops now?
So the we can look at that. Now I understand what you're saying about bringing it up here, so it brings you more into the parking lot. The intention here, because the intention for it was, you don't see it here, but there will be a crosswalk. It would be bringing you down this path across. But we can certainly look into the possibility, whether it be from the preserve project or this project.
Okay. Yeah, that was my. And does the city have to approve what we do?
The city is aware of the scope of the project, But yeah, we will be sharing the drawings with them prior to moving forward.
The only reason I'm asking, yes, they would pay 50% of the cost, but I can't remember whether the agreement requires them to approve what we do, or we just say, here's the invoice.
No, there is, I'd have to look back at the exact language, but there is language in there that talks about us sharing information with them about exactly what's going on.
Okay. That was my only concern.
Vice President Kaplan?
Jeff, who's going to use the path? I know you said it and I wrote it down. I can't read my own writing.
This new path right here.
Yes.
So the idea, it could be someone who's just using the site. Like I said, to walk along the parking lot here, you have to go up these steps and you have to walk in the area where there's activity at the driving range. But we're also looking at this more holistically of the preserve and Skokie River Woods and how this is all kind of one large complex. So this is an asphalt path that leads directly to the preserve. And so one thought is that someone can come from the preserve and continue all the way through here safely and then continue up into Skokie River Woods.
Okay.
Anything else, Brian?
No.
I have a couple questions. The sidewalks, what's the material you're intending to use? Is it some cement?
Yeah, so it is. So the existing sidewalk is, and then over here is asphalt. So there is some thought about looking to see maybe something we could use that's a little more green. But we will say that it's somewhat of a unique site and that it's a former landfill. There is a landfill cap, so I'm not sure, we'd have to look into how effective having a permeable surface would really be here. And in addition, if we were to go with a permeable paver or something, we'd have to keep in mind that we'd be going from 3 different materials in a relatively short distance: concrete, pavers, and then asphalt.
Okay. And what's the width of the sidewalks?
We don't have a design yet. It would be a standard sidewalk. We would want to tie in with this one here. And exactly where the sidewalk is going to fall is also part of the design process.
Okay. So we're not there yet.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have the berm in here. We're looking into maybe trying to take up a little bit of the parking lot space, so we're not creating more impervious space as well, and also not having to regrade as much.
Okay, appreciate it. And my last question is really an operational question. I know that we use this area in the winter for dog park. Are you intending to plow these sidewalks?
Well, I would actually kick that question over to our parks operation manager, or Dan, if you'd like to answer that question.
I think probably, they probably would not be a priority. We currently shovel the steps that lead up to it now, and we have lists of priorities, rankings, and at some point we do shovel up by the building too. So I hadn't thought about it, but now that you're saying it, yeah, I mean, it would go on one of these on the list that we get to. It might be 2 days after a storm that we would get to and use to walk behind snowblower to do those.
I mean, the reason I bring up that comment is besides the fact that the dog park's there, but what I would like to see is after this parking lot is redone and the driveway up to the dome is redone, is obviously there's insufficient parking on the top of the hill where the dome is located in order to satisfy a lot of activities that happen there. And I would like to encourage people, instead of parking on the hill like they do right now, which is always scared me, with regard to, especially in inclement weather, is try to encourage people to actually use the parking lot by the driving range, and then you have the sidewalk that provides connectivity where they don't have to actually walk in the street in order to access the dome. So try to encourage that as overflow parking.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, so that's something we could think about as this evolves from an operational perspective. Okay, that's my only comment.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
It does go to parking. And I think what I just heard you say is that the parking by the golf driving range is used by people who use the dome.
Well, it's frankly, it's not used enough. by the people who use the dome, because what people do right now, and you know, I used to have a kid who played soccer, and so what people do right now is they actually, when there's overflow, when that lot fills up, and it fills up pretty quickly on the top of the hill by the dome, is they actually parallel park on the driveway up to the dome. And I always thought that was always a bad idea.
And it's funny because I was going to ask if we have too much parking for the golf driving range.
No, actually, that fills up. That does fill up, and I think, and I'd like to see in the wintertime create some connectivity to the dome as we master plan this area, because obviously it's hard to create any more parking by the dome and provide easier and better access and safer access to overflow parking.
No, I understand. With that, you've addressed my question, was why do we have so much parking? But I guess you're right. If it fills up for the golf driving range, then if the dome, when it's up and roaring, needs more parking, then yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Are there lights along the sidewalk? So that if you have an activity at the dome and this is the parking, is it illuminated to make it for
There are
safety?
lights. There are lights on the south side of the drive. If you look really close to Jeff's picture there,
Yeah, right here and here and here.
and it's usually lit up pretty well. You know, I have plowed that myself at night, and you can see pretty well. So, you know, maybe we need to add one or something, but I'm not overly concerned of it.
Okay, I was just thinking along the curve leading up to the
there's no
dome.
dedicated lighting right here.
Okay.
I'm really interested to see what the engineers come up with regard to reconfiguring the upper dome area, you know, with regard to both parking and also drop-offs and pickups, because that notoriously has always been a very congested area.
Yeah, we've certainly started to think about this, and it's definitely something we want to see what we can do. We are somewhat limited with the footprint. At a minimum, we can do something with striping, but we're hoping there might be some more creative ideas that we haven't considered that we can come up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear what they say.
And I'm looking forward to see what they say about the entrance to Skokie Road.
Yeah, that too. We'll see what IDOT says. That's a good point too.
Yeah, that's another one that we've started to look into it. I think our options are relatively limited, but it's definitely something they're starting to already think about ideas.
Well,
Landlocked.
yeah. One of the there's two things I just want to add. I think if we have some creative ideas, we should probably talk to our Illinois legislators. If we need some muscle, shall we say? And did we ever get in touch with Target?
Yeah. I've actually met with Target. I met with them near the end of last year. Shared after a few phone calls, got connected to the right person at the corporate office and shared our proposal with them. And they wanted to follow up with us. Unfortunately, I've reached out a couple times to find out if they've had any traction on their end, and unfortunately, they have not gotten back to me.
Okay, you know, we'll put the word Target on the dome so you can see it from an airplane flying overhead.
Put a big bullseye up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Any other comments with regard to the golf? Are you looking for any action from us tonight?
Yes, thank you. So with the formal amount for the proposal, we will not be bringing it to the board for approval, but we're looking for a consensus from the finance committee to move forward with this.
I believe you have it, unless I hear something to the contrary.
Move
Hearing
forward.
nothing,
Nope, move forward.
you have our recommendation.
Fantastic.
Okay. Anything else on the golf learning center parking lot and sidewalk proposals? Anybody else? Okay.
Nope.
Next item on the agenda is other business. Director Peters to present.
Okay. All I have for other business is our March Finance Committee meeting dates. We are scheduled to meet again on March 4th, Thursday, March 4th at 4 p.m. and then on Thursday, March 18th at 4 p.m.
March.
March.
I have no issues.
What was the final snow total? I mean, do anyone know the depth that we have, or? Dan, you're usually on top of that stuff.
Yeah, usually. I asked the guys who were plowing it. They thought, actually, Don Winger is who I asked because he was the supervisor in charge that morning. He thought it was about 12 inches. By the time I got in, it was harder to tell because most of the lots were done. But
Wow.
12.
Okay, we're having one of those Februarys. Hopefully, it'll get warmer. Baseball season's around the corner. Pitchers and catches report. So let's.
That's right.
Okay. Is there anybody else have any other things they want to bring up at the meeting? Barney, Brian,
Nope.
staff. Brian Romes, anything?
Nope, we're good.
Okay,
I
great.
move,
Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, a motion to adjourn by President Ruttenberg. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Vice President Kaplan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned at 5:36 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone.
And thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't get
Can I say anything?
I don't know. There's a leave.